presentation by Dr. Arun Sikarwar, who is a scientist, who lives in Agra, where the famous Taj Mahal is. Look, if India can build the Taj Mahal, surely you can build the Universal Peace Tower. you need a Mughal emperor to get this done, perhaps. Okay, Arun is going to talk to us about his research in the neurobiology of peace. So go for it, Arun.
Thank you so much, Professor Thomas. Is my slide visible to everyone?
Yeah, we can see it. The science of conflict resolution.
So actually, I was in line to collect the information and making my own points about the neuroscience of conflict resolution and peace, obviously, because we have to take the peace in our hand as much as possible and get rid of the conflict from the world. So I was short in time, because of my usual work of the university. So I've taken back my neuro here, and probably in my next presentation, I will take care of this neuroscience. So, I'm from Agra, where Taj Mahal is there. Yeah. So I keep learning many things from you all intellectualists in this forum. So this conflict is actually nothing but nature's tax on the humanity, or we all society. Okay. So in the physics, we have read about this thermodynamics unit of entropy S. So entropy is simply a measure of random disorder and affects all aspects of daily lives. So I'm not going for the physics side, rather I'm taking in a philosophical way that entropy means randomness, and it is like a fight, conflict, murder, wars, and a lot of things that keep happening in the world. So in fact, it is the nature's tax on we all of us. So conflict is a fact of life, okay, and that leads to because of the differing perspectives, priorities, or solutions to a problem, and the misunderstanding, or we can say infodemics of misinformation, is the cause of majority of conflicts in the world. Recently, we have seen this COVID-19 pandemic, and in the early months of 2020, there was a lot of infodemics of misinformation, and there were a lot of pessimistic side news were vocally propagated through the mass media on the websites, WhatsApp, and several other media, and a lot of vocal things came up. So. And that is the mother cause of several other misunderstandings in the world. So the major causes of conflict in the world are information, that is something missing, incomplete or ambiguous things keep transferring from here to there. It could be environmental problem, like something in the environment that leads to the conflict, like a country which gets runoff water and then they start looking to the neighboring countries like that. It could be related to the skills, that people lack the appropriate skills for doing their work, and then they start getting fight with the country. It could be through values. A clash of personal values leads to the conflict. Values, mostly like, if I'm not wrong, it could be religious thoughts, fundamentalistic people that they start fighting also. And it could be through the identity, like the participant sense of identity puts them at odds with each other. So I can say like misunderstanding is one of the major cause of conflicts in the world. If we see through this borrowed diagram from the Forbes about the states where this conflict is there right now. So you can see this heat map where this dark red means the country where the more conflicts is happening, and green part like more peaceful countries, and somewhere in between there are other peaceful countries or so. So now, as per this January 2021 on the Wikipedia, this is the heat map of conflicts, and you can see most of African countries are still having in fights, and Middle East, and some part to Southeast Asia, and it's a few countries in the Latin America. And then I gone through to see the major wars, like the countries where there were more than 10,000 or 10,000 deaths in 1 year only. So last 1 year. So this Afghanistan civil war is having death toll more than 10,000 last year also. And second comes in Saudi Arabia, Yemeni border, and Yemen, and this all part, this all started from this conflict. So I've taken from the Wikipedia. Similarly, the countries or places where there were deaths of 1,000 to like less than 10,000, and there you can see a lot of Asian African countries are there. So you can see this Somalia and these other countries, Iraq, Mexico, they're still having some kind of conflict between these countries. And this is just summary of Syria, Egypt, Israel, Palestine, Boko Haram in Nigeria. And these are countries where still there's a lot of conflict going on, and day by day hardly few people to few hundred, or suicide bombing, or some conflict keep going on. In India, there's in too few states only, the next slide problem is still there. So what are the tentative strategies and tools to conflict resolution? So I've come across few articles that I could see that strategy, like tools that feature the strategy. It could be power politics, that is threats of force, defensive alliances like NATO, you can say, economic sanctions by powerful countries over that mediocre or poor countries, bargaining as a trade-off of interest, power mediation. Then conflict, it could be problem-solving workshops, transformation like alternative dispute resolution or reconciliation by trust commissions. It could be through structural prevention, that is electoral system design in that area where the conflict is going on. It could be by providing autonomy to group or giving state-wise, autonomy. Then legal guarantee of free speech and association, and like that. Similarly, human rights also. So this way, we think about the negotiations and dialogues is one of the important thing for the dispute resolution, bring up the peace as much as possible. However, few greedy countries to earn a lot of money or having their GDP higher side, they do a lot of arms marketing in the world. They give like some part of arms there, and then another year or second year they upgrade their weapons, and then they start selling to other countries. So it is their smart way to get their economy in this way. So we have come across, and many of my predecessors speakers have spoken about our Mahatma Gandhi ji, who used peaceful means of conflict resolution, and India got independence because of Mahatma Gandhi ji. And there's another antonym or the opposite side is the forceful means, and that we have seen recently in Hong Kong also, several other places where people try as a forceful means with their tactics to negotiate with the government or trying to find out the conflict resolution towards the peace or so. But it's a long time-consuming process, and it caused a lot of sacrifice of human population in the war, civil war or like that. So conflict resolution strategies in measure could be like these 5. However, several articles have even more. So one is avoiding, like to ignore or sidestep the conflict, hoping it will resolve itself or dissipate with the years or decades or even more time. But like technology is coming up day by day, and every 25 years, next human generation comes up. So in the next generation gap, when it happens, then the ideology changes of the human population. The other one is accommodating, that is taking steps to satisfy the other party's concerns or demands at the expense of your own needs or desires, like accommodating, being like as sympathizing or empathizing to others. It could be through the compromising, that is finding an acceptable resolution that will partly, but not entirely, satisfy the concerns of all parties involved, like all stakeholders. They come up and do compromise. We will do this much, you do this much, and then let's have a peace. Other could be competing. That means to satisfy their own desires at the expenses of other parties involved. This happens when a country is more powerful, then because of power nature, it has more competing. And then other one is collaborating, finding a solution that entirely satisfies the concerns of all involved parties. So in resolve conflict through the dialogue is one of the best method. Even India got independence because of Mahatma Gandhi and even other several prominent freedom fighters. And dialogue and is the best way for resolving any conflict. And then by dialogue, one can do negotiations and coming up, churn objectives, common objectives, where one can do this negotiations to resolve this conflict. So transforming conflicts through we can say trust. Trust is necessary. Otherwise, like if you have no trust, then treaty gets failed and negotiations or MOU gets failed. So trust should be there with both parties. There should be empathy. Like people should feel the empathy, then they stop feeling pain in themselves. It is not that murdering the other army people or so. And dialogues. So it could be like this. In this cartoon is giving that conflict, explore the issues, start the conversation, find common ground, and then make possible process visible, discover solutions, etc. Now, empathy, sympathy, and compassion. Now, it comes the property of the mind. So, in the world, like 7.4 billion people are there. By birth, neuroanatomically, if we think about, then the human brain is the same. It is very defined, 1.4 kg weight. Mass of some 86 billion neurons and equally or even more glial cells and very precise neural circuitry. And having 4 lobes, frontal, parietal, occipital, temporal, they have a similar feature. Neurons are same, neurophysiology is same, human physiology is same. So we all are equal in that way. Like Homo sapiens, so means the physiology is same. But the mind is on different level to everyone at the different age-wise also and in different population also. And that gives how we used to say that someone is intellectualist and someone is just mediocre person and someone is even poor, uneducated or having no ethics and morals and common sense. So mind we develop with our formal education, like universities we used to go, we achieve PhD or something or like that, or whatsoever, not necessarily PhD I can say. And another one is informal education that we receive from the society and parents. So empathy, sympathy, and compassion, these are the properties of the mind, not the brain, because not everyone has the same kind of, quantum of this all components. So empathy means that you feel what a person is feeling, okay? Empathy, like being in the shoes of someone. Sympathy is just making a slightly, means you can understand that a person is feeling, like you just say, okay, you are feeling a pain. And compassion is, application of part, that willingness to relieve the suffering of another. Okay, so all three are more or less, interchangeable terms. So empathy includes the emotional state of the person as well as one's own emotional state. However, sympathy is consciously sharing the emotional state of someone else. Now, if we see these 3 pictures, then certainly, I'm sure all of us would have come across the empathy. That so poor, probably they are malnourished and they are not having food, and probably if I would have been there, then I would have shared my food with the babies. So this is the one classical example of empathy. Now a few other terms like pity, sympathy, empathy, and compassion. These are more or less similar, but with the degree of engagement they are a bit different. So pity is just acknowledging someone's suffering. Just like example is this, oh no, such a shame that happened. Sympathy is I care about your suffering, while empathy is I feel your suffering. So empathy is more important that way. And empathy is part of the limbic system of the brain that in some extent I have already explained in my previous lecture. And next month, possibly, I will be having my more on the neurobiological perspective and related to the limbic system and this empathy. And then compassion. That is, I want to relieve your suffering, like offering a solution. That is the compassion. So it is necessary by the party or negotiator to give both the stakeholders these all things. So empathy means stepping into other parties' shoes and seeing their view of conflict situation through their eyes and not through your eyes. Empathy and sympathy related processes such as compassion are recognized to play positive key roles in the social relationship. Now, social neuroscience also takes part in. Social neuroscience means when we talk about not only on an individual basis the neuroscience, beauty of neuroscience, but on a holistic or on a collective way. This also I've explained in one of my previous lectures, like social neuroscience. So empathy is crucial to conflict resolution. If you don't come up with the empathical point of view between both stakeholders, then certainly we cannot negotiate and probably we cannot finish up any conflict. So mediators or facilitators that Professor Thomas and you all have come across several moments that you used to explain that you were there decades back or so as a mediator, so can empathize through finding something within their own character or experience that resonates with both or all the parties. So mediators lead to them forge stronger connections, build trust, increase understanding between stakeholders, and empathizing helps mediators to identify a party's concerns and sacred values. Now, one more thing comes up, theory of mind. So theory of mind, it is the ability to attribute mental states like beliefs, intents, desires, emotions, empathy and sympathy to ourselves and to others, like between the people involved who are coming on one table to resolve some issue. It is the ability to attribute mental states to ourselves and others, serving as one of the foundational elements for social interaction. And theory of mind also provides the ability to predict and interpret the behavior of others. So one has to understand this behavior. This is the ability to infer the emotional state of another person. And empathy involves generating an appropriate response to the emotional state of others. So like if we see this is theory of mind, where like how child are feeling, one guy said, so another one also feel the same kind of tone. It is an important social cognitive skills. It involves developing a sense of what others are thinking. It helps us to form our responses. Now coming to the empathy. So a study of the empathy goes to the discovery of mirror neurons. And mirror neurons, as the name itself, mirror. So mirror neuron is a neuron that, what happens in the neuron? Neurons are electro-excitable cells in the human body. And there's a lot of electrical firing happens when the neuron are active and during their physiological active situation. So like in the mirror neurons, when a person is doing the same job or the other person is doing the same job, but you feel the same kind of feelings, like you feel salivation when you are eating something, or second time you are seeing someone else eating something and then you start having own salivation. It means you are showing the mimicry, like as if you are doing the same work. There's a kind of mimicry word you might have heard. The mimicry is a pervasive phenomenon in the animal kingdom, but imitation certainly achieves its highest form in the humans. Imitation is the highest in the humans. Several authors have often associated imitation with the ability to empathize and to understand others' mind. A mirror neuron is a neuron that fires both when an animal acts, including a human I'm telling here, and when the animal observes the same action performed by another. Neuron mirrors the behavior of other as if the observer were itself acting that same job. And macaque monkeys were, in 1990s, this phenomena was discovered in macaque monkeys, and later on in the birds, and later on it was found in the humans also. And in human brain, these mirror neurons have been found in the premotor cortex. Premotor cortex is like upper part of the gray matter of the human brain. Premotor cortex, the supplementary motor area, and primary somatosensory cortex, and inferior parietal cortex. There are more these mirror neurons. And Rizzolatti group, they were doing a lot of experiments for several years, and then they gave this paper and submitted to the Nature. And first time in 1994, yeah, I think so, this paper was rejected, saying that mirror neuron phenomena, such kind of thing cannot happen, and it is not possible. And later on, this was found very true. And the same group published another empirical paper about the mirror neurons in the human Broca's region was homologous to the monkey's ventral premotor cortex. One is in University of California, Valayanu Ramakrishnan. He is also working on mirror neurons, and he's having 2 TEDx talk on the mirror neurons. I will finish up my lecture here, Professor Thomas.
Well, thank you so much. That was a brilliant overview. And next month you must go into more detail. I feel you were just beginning when you were talking about mirror neurons.
Thankful to you that you gave me that United States Institute of Peace, that hint of that YouTube, and then I explore all the videos. And yes, it is through the mind we can change the mind of people. And
I think this knowledge should be taught to diplomats like Helena in training at UNITAR. There should be a whole course on the neurobiology of peace, the neurophysiology of peace.